And we are live. Welcome into the Extra Points show presented to you guys by Fantasy Points, where we are talking underdog player prop bets to help you guys win some cash this Sunday. My name is Nick Skrip, as always, here with my guy, Major Caldwell. Major, we got a game going on right now as we speak out in London. Have you been able to catch any of that this morning?
No, man, those London games are a little too early for me. I don't know. I'm just waking up, so it's like I gotta try to figure it all out.
I forget our time zone differences sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've been up for a while. My daughter got up pretty early, so I was forced into that. But saw a Chris Olave touchdown. That was cool. I saw Alexander Madison touchdown. Not super cool because I have a ton of Dalvin Cook, so that's always a pain there to watch that. But if you're tuning in while you are watching that game, enjoy that. It's fun sometimes to have some sort of oddball game on the schedule, unless you're like Major and it's super early in the morning. But
Exactly.
we're talking underdog fantasy bets here today, player prop bets. And if you are not familiar, you can go to underdogfantasy.com or you can go to the App Store and type in Underdog Fantasy. And how it works for this is they'll give you a list of players for all the games today and different player props. So statistics that you bet over or under on. So you grab a handful of picks, you put a bid down, and you can win some money. So you need just two different guys from two different teams. You can have a group of bets, and the more you bet, the more money you can make on it. But if you are tuning in and you are not familiar, go sign up today. Use a promo code Fantasy Points, Fantasy PTS, for a deposit matchup up to $100. So a ton of fun on Sundays beyond the fantasy world to win some money. Me and Major, we tend to hit pretty decent, I'd say, on the show. But if you like some things he says, some things that I say, you can combine those with your own and win some money. So Major, let's kick things off here today. What's the first bet that you are placing that you like today?
Man, I gotta show some love to you, man. You my dog. We've been doing this show the second season, but I pop online, man, and I see Justin Fields like trending. I'm like, oh, is he hurt? What's going on? But he has a prop that's like probably the lowest in NFL history. Um, so I'm gonna show you some love, you know what I mean, Nick? I'm gonna go Justin Fields higher than 148 and a half passing yards. Um, some people saying that Fields this is the lowest in NFL history. I get that the Bears O line is horrific. I get that the wide receivers are just not that good. Um, and so far he hasn't beat like 125 yards this year. Um, and he's playing a top 10 defense in a passing defense in the Giants. So that's only giving up 203 yards per game. But Fields is a baller, man. Like sometimes the stats and everything, you got to go with the stats and do all that good stuff. But sometimes you got to bet someone's heart. And I think Justin Fields has a huge heart. And I think he's going to live up to this challenge. It's kind of disrespectful having the lowest prop in like NFL history like
Mhm.
that's like kind of slap in the face. So but there's a question, you being a Bears fan, like how disrespectful is this prop on Justin Fields, and what are the Bears doing with this young guy, man? This feels like it's getting a little bit nasty out here.
So yeah, I'll go on my like a quick vent, not to go crazy. I
Yeah,
got
no,
my
go
Bears
ahead,
hat on
man.
right
Go
now,
ahead.
but Justin Fields, yeah, the frustrating part about him is obviously before the season they didn't do enough to support him. They didn't put offensive line pieces in front of him. They didn't give him wide receivers to throw to. The ones that they did give him to throw to were like fifth string wide receivers on other
Right.
teams. So in my opinion, he was set up to be the least successful out of any quarterback in the league. Just
Yeah.
offensive line and the wide receivers. And
Yep.
then you go into the season 17, 11, and 17 passing attempts. So they're not really letting him throw the ball. And some people will say, well, there's times that he should throw the ball and, he's hesitating too much. But again, you got, minimal time in the pocket and you got guys that can't separate running routes. But I'm with you on the prop here. I feel like that's so low. I'm looking on other sites have him projected to be around 160 passing yards. I think that gradually, I'm hoping that with this new coach and Justin Fields being a full-time starter now, that the leash is going to be a little bit more loose every week. And against the Giants, I don't think it's a walkover team by any means right now. So I think that they're going to have to throw the ball a bit. No David Montgomery. I know, Khalil Herbert balled out last week, but I don't think that the whole game plan is going to be like, hey, let's get Khalil Herbert to win us this football game. I think they're going to have to pass. Velus Jones Jr. is back today, so not bad. I mean, he never played in the NFL yet, so I'm
exactly
interested to see how he does. He's a rookie that's also like a veteran at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know.
We gotta have some high hopes, man. We like I said, Justin Fields is a baller. I actually like him. Me being a Niners fan, I wish they would have kind of took him at that third spot. So I don't know, man. I just think it's disrespectful, and I think players have pride, man. I think he's gonna perform, and he's gonna show people that like he's not a joke.
Well, I appreciate that Bears love for you from you, man. That means a lot this early in the morning here. But I'm gonna go with Jalen Hurts for my pick, over 50 rushing yards. And shout out to our guy Ben Kukanis, who gave me some crap last year for wearing the Hurts jersey, but then said it was a good thing now. I think he's bought into Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts, the first 3 weeks of football, 90, 57, and 20 rushing yards. So he's beat that mark 2 out of the 3 weeks. He's number 1 in carries per game. He gets opportunities in the red zone where he leads quarterbacks as well for that statistic. The Jaguars right now are hot. I think some people are thinking this is just like a game where the Eagles are going to completely smoke them, which they might because the Eagles look like a Super Bowl team. But if we're looking at the Jaguars right now, they're not the same team as last year. They beat the Colts 24-0. Week 2, they followed up with a win over the Chargers. So I think, this narrative that Hurts is not going to have to run in this game because the game's not going to be competitive is not something I'm buying into right now because the Jaguars look okay. The Eagles are able to move the ball through the air, and both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, they've both been solid, but Hurts is number 21 in passing attempts right now. So nothing, shows that they completely abandoned him running or them running the ball in general. So 50 rushing yards seems like a low mark for the guy who's got the most carries in the league per game right now. So I'm going to go over 50 rushing yards.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. He's beat that mark twice already this year and came pretty close in week 1 with 45. Oh no, that's the longest rush. Yeah, 45 rushing yards. But I think I like him, man. Like I'm like Ben. I was a little slow on to Hurts. Like I didn't really see what people was talking about, but this year I'm a fan. Like he playing with this calmness. He has the command of the offense, and I think when the quarterback, you see that confidence, anything is possible. So he's just on a roll, man. And I think the Eagles are like 50-50 almost in their like pass to play ratio is really close. So he's gonna have every opportunity to get this, and I think they're gonna have to run. That Jaguar team is a little bit better than what people are giving them.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've come out and really been a team that shocked a lot of us just because we didn't expect them to compete that much this year, and now they're winning games against teams we thought they had no business winning against.
Absolutely, man. For my second one here, it's kind of segue into yours a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Miles Sanders, lower than 63.5 rushing yards. Miles started the season well with 96 and 80 yards in the first 2 games. Last week he kind of struggled a bit with 46 rushing yards, but he'll be facing that number 1 Jaguars defense. It sounds crazy saying it, but they're the number 1 rushing defense in the league. They're only giving up 55 yards per game. And like you just mentioned, Hurts is a lot of that running game, and I think he's going to have to run a little bit more than the running backs. And he's going to have to throw the ball to those receivers. It feels like they're starting to become a passing team out there in Philadelphia. It's not the old team where they used to run the ball like 90% of the time. But like I said, Jacksonville looking good, man. Jacksonville, they're going to shut some stuff down in that running game. So, like, again, he's like, Hurts is going to be the man there. So I think Miles Sanders is going to suffer this week with that. So less than 63.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, really surprising to see Jacksonville be the number 1 team against the run right now. And to put it into perspective, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Only 10 teams have given up on average under 100 rushing yards per game. And Jacksonville, like you said, has given up only 55. On the high end, you got the Houston Texans have given up 202 rushing yards per game. So, I mean, that's a big gap. Like when we're saying they give up the least, like it's the least by a lot. So
Yeah.
Miles Sanders opened up the season running pretty efficiently with his, yards per carry and, capitalize on what he was getting. The carries, it's not like he's hitting like 20, to 25 carries a game like Jonathan Taylor or anything. So I'm with you. I think like we're both saying the same thing. The matchup's not as easy as people are trying to say it is. And I think they're going to have to push the ball through the air a bit too.
Yep. Who you got for your next one?
So I'm going to go against my Bears. We were talking good again about the Bears. So I'm going to go against my Bears to a guy on the other team. I'm going to go Saquon Barkley over 4 receptions. So he hit this mark exactly in week 3. He had 4 catches on the dot. Week 1, though, he caught 6 of his 7 targets. The thing that we need to pay attention to with the Giants right now is that Sterling Shepard tore his ACL. He's on the IR. They don't have Kadarius Toney, who hasn't been a factor, but he's still somebody breathing on that offense. Wan'Dale Robinson is out again. So that leaves Kenny Golladay, who does not look great, and Richie James, who's actually been pretty decent for the Giants, but we don't think is like this big, world-beating wide receiver. So I think the game plan is going to feature Barkley the way it did in week 1 with him getting some passing volume, especially seeing that I don't think that they can lean on any specific wide receiver or tight end in this matchup against Chicago. We know pass catching is a big part of his profile. He had the 91 receptions his rookie season, and he showed it again in week 1. So knowing that they're missing a lot of people in this offense, I think that they get Barkley involved in the passing game here. So over 4 receptions for me in this one.
Yeah, I can see that. Like you said, he's the only weapon on that field. They're going to have to give it to him. They're going to have to hand it off. They're going to have to toss it to him. He might even line up in a slot or out wide. He's going to be everywhere on the field this week. And I'm just happy for Saquon. Like it's been rough, those injuries. It looked like he's back from it, like he's 100%, if not close to it. And he's having a pretty good season so far. And like I said, he's the only one on that offense, so he's going to be everywhere. They're going to line up everywhere if they're going to have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, and against the Bears, if you're playing like DraftKings or something like that, or if you look on Underdog, which we're talking about, there's probably a rushing prop. And I feel like his rushing prop was pretty high, but Chicago is right under the Texans that I mentioned before in rushing yards per game given up. They are tied for the second most. So I think Barkley's going to have a good day just in general. So look for him both on the ground and the air to have a good day.
Absolutely, man. Let's see. For my next one here, I'm going to go with Mike Evans, higher than 69.5 receiving yards. We all know what happened. Was it week 2? Got a little dust up. And Tom Brady owes this man. Like, he put his neck out, went out there, hopped in front of some people, pushed some people around, got suspended. So, Tom is going to, show him some love this week. I think he's going to, and it's good too, because all the receivers seem like they're getting healthy at the same time and coming back. So all the pressure won't be on Mike. And he's one of those type of players who could take 2 or 3 receptions to get this 70 yards, So, and last week without him, Tom Brady didn't really look like Tom Brady. He kind of struggled a bit. He's bringing back his 8 catches and 132 yards and a TD in offense. So, and Kansas City has a pretty good defense as well, but they're giving up 253 passing yards per game to receivers. And I think, it's going to be a big game. Tom is going to have to go to Mike just to give a little nod, cap off to the man for helping him fight the other week. So anything on Mike Evans, go over.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with that for sure. I think after missing a game for being his quarterback's bodyguard in that suspension game, Tom Brady, the only thing you can do is give this guy 10 targets. I mean, I feel like that's the minimum in this. But the good thing about Mike Evans and this player prop bet is if you look at his yards per catch, 14.2 and 20.3 in his first 2 weeks. So obviously, when he's getting the ball in his hands, he's taking it for some decent yards, and it's he's a guy that Tom Brady has had trust in since he's been in Tampa Bay, and now that he's back, and Chris Godwin's not running around out there, and even Russell Gage right now, who had a good week 3, is kind of banged up right now. They need to get him involved, so I think it's going to be a big Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette day for Tampa Bay there for sure.
Yep.
So number 3 for me, and I went with this player prop in the past. Not sure if it hit. We'll just say it did, just to give us some credit here. But I'm gonna go once again with Breece Hall. It'll be my last over, so I'll go 3 overs, 1 under. But Breece Hall over 2 receptions, which is a low mark to me, and I want to talk about the concerns about Breece Hall and Zach Wilson, who is set to play this week. But Breece Hall is the number 1 targeted running back right now with 22 targets on the year. And he's the number 5 running back in receptions. So he's having a pretty good year so far as a rookie that, has been splitting these snaps with Michael Carter, especially in the passing department. So I think the big question people have right now is, with the return of Zach Wilson, does this shift away from getting Breece Hall involved in the passing game? Maybe he doesn't dump it off like Joe Flacco did. But for me, 2 things don't change for the Jets with Zach Wilson coming back. Robert Saleh, the head coach, and Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator. So I think utilizing Breece in the passing game is obviously, been pushed the first 3 weeks. And I think it's part of the game plan. And Zach Wilson right now is a quarterback we know has some mobile traits. He's a guy that can run, right? But he had that meniscus surgery. So I don't expect Zach Wilson to be scrambling too often. So when things break down for the Jets, instead of him scrambling, it might be, if Breece is on the field, a dump off to Breece. So I actually think the dump offs make more sense now in this matchup. And Breece Hall this past week just surpassed 50% of the snaps for the first time. I think any day now he can take over and get to that 55 to 60 range over Michael Carter. So I'm going to go Breece Hall over 2 receptions.
No, that makes sense. He's beat that mark 2 times already this year. Week 1 he had 6 receptions. Week 2 he had 1, and then and then last week he had another 6. So they're throwing him the ball at a pretty nice clip, and I think that's going to continue, especially with young rookie, not a rookie, but a young quarterback. His best friend is going to be that check down to the running back and a little dumps off to the tight end. So look for Breece and for Michael Carter for that matter to like actually get into this passing game and help this young guy out, because I don't think he's like all the way back yet. He's getting his feet wet.
Yeah, when people are rushing the pocket, I don't think he's going to break out for a 10-yard gain with his legs that probably has a brace on. I'm going to assume he's going to be wearing a brace today. But
yeah, absolutely.
What's your 4th and final one here for today's props?
Yeah, for this one, I'm gonna go with Darren Waller lower than 5 receptions. And I know that sounds crazy. We all know and love Darren Waller, but this Raider offense is having a hard time. I really don't know what it is, but they just look like out of sorts. And last week was one of his worst games of his career with only 3 receptions for 22 yards. But Waller has topped this mark only once this season. And this week won't be easy. He's going against a defense that's ranked number 4 against the pass. And they have held every tight end under 5 receptions all season. So everybody they play, no tight end has topped that number. And it just feels weird, because I remember a time when Darren Waller was getting 19 targets, 18 targets, like 100 targets in one game. It seemed like it seemed like it was going to him every play and he was performing. But this year, like I said, it's not just him. I think it's that whole offense, and I think they're trying to get together. But I don't know, man. Do you have anything with the Raiders? I don't understand what's going on out there.
Yeah, I don't have the statistic in front of me right now, but I statted out the catchable target percentage of wide receivers that had a new quarterback. And Davante Adams was towards the bottom of that list with Derek Carr. I don't remember the percentage, but it was not good. It was near DJ Moore with Baker Mayfield, and you had like Tyreek Hill way up there with Tua. But I don't know. You would think that this offense would be moving, a bit better with Derek Carr this season. He was a top 12 quarterback, I think, last season with only Hunter Renfrow. But now he's, I don't know if it's a Carr thing or what's going on with how the ball's been moving. But you would think last week too, with no Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller would get a ton of volume with Davante Adams, but it was Mac Hollins who went out there and got, a ton of the work. So it's weird with Waller right now, just because, again, like you're saying, I'm used to the guy getting, 10 plus as high as 19 that week last year targets, and now we're looking at like a 3-catch week last week with no Hunter Renfrow. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to read it. In all honesty, I think it's either going to be more of the same of getting somewhere between like 5 to 7 targets in the game and hoping he catches them,
Right.
or knowing Renfro's out again, maybe Matt Collins was a fluke and they give Waller a bit more of the ball here. But Broncos got pretty good cornerbacks, so hopefully he just matches up with linebackers in this one if you're rooting for Darren Waller. But a little on the fence there. It's hard to read that situation.
Yeah, and that's why I went with it. This one does kind of make me feel a little weird in the stomach here, but I'm looking at the stats and he hasn't, like I said, he beat this mark only once this year, and that
Yeah.
sounds crazy for a tight end of his caliber.
Definitely, definitely. I'm gonna go under on my last one for once and go and this one again, it could be one big play in that surpasses this mark, but I'm gonna go Paris Campbell under 20.5 receiving yards. So it's definitely a low mark, but the past 2 weeks have looked really bad for Campbell. He's had 4 combined targets, 2 combined catches, and 10 combined receiving yards across the last 2 weeks. He did have 37 receiving yards in week 1. And you can say, again, one big play might get this 20.5 receiving yards, but his ADOT right now, so average depth of target, is 3. It's 3 yards, which is bad. That's number 95 for wide receivers in this category. Alec Pierce has had more targets this past week with 5. We've also seen Ashton Doolin the first 2 weeks get some decent work. I feel
Yeah.
like Alec Pierce, Ashton Doolin, Paris Campbell, they're all just kind of like fighting for the Michael Pittman Jr. scraps, and the running backs actually get involved in the game as well. But seeing that, super low average depth of target, seeing that he's only had 10 total receiving yards across the last 2 weeks, 20.5, it's a low mark. I'm taking a risk here, but I'm going to go under that mark.
Yeah, man, I was just happy to hear Paris Campbell, man. That's one of my guys. That's you
Yeah.
draft one of those guys, and then you
Yep.
just like, I've been rooting for this kid this whole time because these injuries and everything it's been a hard start to his career. Hopefully he can like overcome that. Yeah, but the thing that makes me kind of down on him is when Pierce was out, it became like Doolin kind of bumped up over Pierce instead of over Paris Campbell, but Paris should have like been number 2 in that scenario, and it didn't really work out that way. So, Pierce is coming back this week as well, just like I was mentioning earlier, with Tampa Bay's receiver core. They're all kind of coming back together at the same time, and it kind of feels like this with this young receiver room as well. And I like I said, I'm rooting against you, man, because Paris Campbell's my guy, but you
Fair,
make
that's fair.
all the sense. Like that stat, the ADOT stat, I wasn't hip to that, man. That's some good stats right there.
Yeah, I was super surprised to see it was that low, and looking
Yeah,
at the receiving yards, you're like, all right, well, he's not extending the field, because I never want to bite myself and say like an MVS, you might only get like 3 targets in a game, but knowing his depth of his targets, it could be 20 yards down the field or something like that.
but
So
is that a coaching thing or is that a player thing? I think that's more a coaching thing. Like, why are you
maybe,
making him run routes that's like 3 yards? Like, what
yeah.
are you doing? What kind of routes are we running here?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it has to do with the skill set, but in what they bring. But I'm sure he's not like a slow wide receiver by any means.
Right.
So that's
Exactly.
interesting. But yeah, underdog. So I'm looking right now. If you take 3 picks on the underdog app, again, they have to be from at least 2 from 2 different teams. 3 picks, $5 would be $30. So that's a pretty decent payout if you like 3 of the things that Major and I said. There's also this new insurance option. So if you click that button for 3 picks, for example, and you hit 2 of them, it's 5 for $15, which you might say is not like a massive return. But if you do a bunch of them during the day or a couple with that insurance, I feel like that's pretty decent. Hitting 2 out of 3, you get to lose one of them, which is something new that underdogs have. They also have on the app these drafts for the day, where you go to the draft button and they have like the goal line stand. And it's basically you sit in a room with, not physically, but you're in a room with like 6 people and you do a fantasy draft almost for like a DFS play for that day. So they got a lot of cool options on there. Major, anything else that stands out for today's games? Anything for underdog? Anything you want to put out there before we close things up on this Sunday show?
No, man, last week had a good week. Let's continue to build. And this is a quick update. Minnesota and New Orleans at half. Minnesota 13-0-7. So let's see how it goes.
All right. Yeah. Make sure you guys are tuning into that if you didn't know that was actually going on. And again, check out Underdog Fantasy. You can go straight to the App Store and type in the promo code Fantasy Points, Fantasy PTS to get that deposit matchup up to $100 and make Sundays even more fun outside of the fantasy world. So good luck in your fantasy leagues this week. Good luck winning that money. Hopefully, we helped.